Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. So, big update information drop on us today. Today I'm going to react to it. I'm going to share the most important things with you guys. I'll include a link also to this post if you want to check it out, because we're not going to sit here for a half an hour and go through every single champion, but I will highlight my favorite new champions being added to the game. Also, there's some new Doom Tower information for you guys. We will review that, but we're not going to go super in-depth on everything we know about the secret floors in Doom Tower, because I've already done a video on that, which I will link in the description below for you guys. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And I just want to start out by saying, guys, I am so excited about this patch. I think that this, based on all the information we have so far, I think this is going to be the best update ever in Raid Shadow Legends. I really do. That's not hyperbole. I really think, I'm just excited about it. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think as well in the comments below. So first, the new information on Doom Tower. The basics. Doom Tower is a new game mode that will feature 132 stages, 108 common floors, 12 boss floors, and 12 secret rooms. More info on those to come soon. It will be available in normal and hard difficulties, two separate Doom Towers that you can toggle back and forth between, okay? Both will be repeatable. The Doom Tower resets every 30 days, erasing your progress, ranking, and rotating some of the bosses. So we know that the final boss is going to rotate between 4 bosses. They said that previously. And the secret rooms will have other utility as well, which we'll talk about in today's video. So moving on, you can see the new key system, which I freaking love, man. I'm really happy that they're instituting the same kind of faction war key system. They will not, it says it right here, they will not be available for purchase, which is so good to hear from Plarium and Raid Shadow Legends. This will not be paywalled in terms of this content, right? There won't be whales out there day one that are able to complete the entire Doom Tower. It will not be possible. But they do all go on to say that they'll be reset every day. You'll be getting 10 silver keys and 10 gold keys every single day, similar again to faction war keys. They said somewhere in here, I don't know, somewhere they go on to mention that they kind of allude to the fact that through maybe advanced quests, we'll be able to get additional keys on a daily basis as well, kind of like Faction Wars. And just like Faction Wars, if you don't successfully beat whatever floor you're trying to, beat in Doom Tower, you won't actually use your keys. So really excited about that too. I think this is a perfect way to kind of build this system for Doom Tower. And you guys can see kind of how it looks on Doom Tower there, the various stages and whatnot. So, Doom Tower floors will follow a classic scheme. Your champions fight through 3 rounds of enemies, while every 10th floor will feature a boss fight. These bosses will be different, and their powers will scale with the difficulty you've chosen and your progress. So for example, the boss on floor 110 will be much tougher than a boss on floor 10. That makes sense, right? Secret rooms will pose additional challenges as they require special conditions to complete, such as using champions of a specific rarity, faction, or type. Again, we know about that. We discussed it in my previous video on Doom Tower, again in the description below for you guys. I love kind of the look of Doom Tower, guys. It looks really cool. This is, an example of a boss fight here in Doom Tower. Let's take a look at the rewards. So there's 4 new artifact sets, which can be only forged from beating boss floors in Doom Tower. So again, completing a floor for the first time, you'll earn a set reward that cannot be farmed again until the next 30 days, Doom Tower reset. Beating boss floors will reward you with materials for the artifact forge. For each boss, will reward a different material for a different set. You guys can see the materials here. Let's talk about these sets. The Fatal set, obtained from the Magma Dragon, 2 artifact set, increase attack 15%, crit rate 5%. I like this set. I can't say that I love it. I can't say that it's OP, but if you need a little extra crit rate, it's advantageous to use a Fatal set, a 2-piece set, versus a Cruel set. If you don't need crit rate, you're still better off going Cruel. So I like it though. Fatal set is a nice kind of bonus to have there, to have that crit rate. Of course, you can get an extra 45% attack and 15% crit rate if you equip 3 of these on a champion. The next one though, Untouchable, I'm really excited about. Obtained from the Scarab King, 4 artifact set, Resistance plus 40, immunity for 2 turns. This totally negates the use for regular immunity gear because you get the resist on top of it. And that's way more valuable inside a PvP arena right now. I guarantee Untouchable will be used inside Platinum Tier Arena, so I'm really excited about this set. I think it's a great set to be added to the game. Next up, we have Affinity Breaker. I'm actually not excited about this set. It's from the Nether Spider. 4 artifact set, crit damage plus 30%, 20% to deal a critical hit instead of a weak hit. It's nice to have that against weak affinities. You have a 35% chance of landing a weak hit. So that kind of negates some of that or mitigates some of that. But still, to me, for a 4 artifact set, 30% crit damage and 20% chance to deal a critical hit instead, I don't really get excited about that. So I am not big on Affinity Breaker set. What about you guys? Am I wrong on that one, or you with me? This one, Frostbite, I am excited about. It is a 2 artifact set obtained from the Frost Spider, excuse me. 2 artifacts, 15% chance to resist freeze. Okay, that's cool. Has a 10% chance to place freeze debuff on the attacker, and the chance increases to, basically no matter how many of these sets you have equipped. So if you have 3 of these Frostbite sets, you got a 45% chance to resist freeze, and then a 30% chance to place freeze. It's a 2 artifact set. I like it. I don't love it. What about you guys? Which of these sets are you most excited about? I think that Frostbite and Fatal are interesting, are good. And then Untouchable is really good. And then I'm not a big fan of Affinity Breaker. What about you guys? Let me know. So before we get to the champions, I also want to kind of stick with the artifacts quickly here and talk about all the artifact rebalancing also coming in this update. Retaliation, it is now being buffed from 25% chance to counterattack to 35% chance. That's going to make Retaliation really good now, guys. 35% chance to counterattack is solid. Regeneration, it's now going to be up to heals by 15% per every single turn, up from 10%. I think that makes regeneration worth considering. Next up is going to be Toxic. It's going to be a 75% chance to place a 2.5 poison debuff for 2 turns, up from 50. I don't think this makes Toxic that much more appealing. What about you guys? Let me know. Reflex, though, a 4-piece set, obviously. 40% chance to reduce a random skill cooldown by 1 turn, up from 30. Reflex was already pretty solid, and I think underrated. Now a 40% chance, I think Reflex is going to be a very solid set. Avenging, 45% chance up to from 30% chance to counterattack when hit with a critical hit, has no damage penalty. I think the Avenging is now worth considering as well. 45% chance to counterattack off of a critical is definitely, yeah, I think that's solid. Destroy, same thing, right? A big buff to Destroy decreases enemy max HP by 40% of the damage dealt. Man, that's really solid. I think that Destroy is going to be worth considering now, really, guys. What about you? And then Cursed and Curing are also getting a buff. I'm not big on either of these. Cursed, 75% chance of placing a 50% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns, up from 1 turn, up from 50%. But still, I'm just not that excited about Cursed. Let me know if you are. And then Curing, 20% a bonus heal, up from 10% bonus heal. And Curing, again, I don't know. I think that, that's a double value. So, maybe champions that have like a Vrask type champion, right? Or a Scylla the Drakes type champion. Champions that have either a passive or a heal on every ability type thing, or a heal every turn. I think this could actually be pretty viable, right? So those are the artifact set boosts. Also, Faction Wars rebalancing should be easier to complete. That's already in effect right now. And Christmas decorations, yay. Let's take a look at a few of my favorite of the new champions here, guys. Thea the Tomb Angel. Legendary Force Attack Knight Revenant Champion. One thing that I do want to say is no new OP Dwarf Champions. Or no new Dwarf Champions at all. What's up with that, man? Dwarf Affinity, or Dwarf Faction, excuse me, could really use some love. Clarium, come on. Anyway, Thea the Tomb Angel. Force Attack Knight Revenant. On the A1, attacks 2 times at random, or ascended, 2 times at random. 75% chance of placing a Hex debuff for 5 turns. This debuff cannot be resisted. Each critical hit reduces the cooldown of Not of This World skill by 1 turn. Now, Hex, from what we know, deals double damage to the enemy that has the debuff. But we'll see. This is the first time we've seen it on a champion other than, Minotaur's Labyrinth. Attacks all enemies on the A2. Well, Not of This World plays a perfect Veil buff on this champion for 3 turns and then grants an extra turn. Not bad, right? And again, that can be reduced cooldown by 1 turn for each critical hit on this 2-time attacker on the A1 too. A pretty solid A1 here. And then attacks all enemies. Damage increases by 50% for each Hex debuff on the enemy team. On the enemy team. Not on the enemy, on the enemy team. Stacks up to 300%. Removes all Hex debuffs from all enemies after attacking. Wow. I wonder what the multipliers on that's going to be, right? And then the passive, 50% chance of placing a True Fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn when an enemy loses 30% or more of their max HP in a single hit. Wow, really good passive, really, really good champion. Now, I should note here, guys, these are going to be available, these champions, in champion fragments that are only available, they're only earned from Doom Tower, right? So, you can see right here, these are champions from the Doom Tower. They won't be available anywhere else in the game, okay? So these champion fragments are received by completing secret rooms, okay? So remember, you can only get this reward once per cycle. These fragments will refresh once Doom Tower resets, so be sure to complete as many secret rooms as possible. And again, you can complete secret rooms on both difficulty level per season. So essentially, you have, what, there's 10 secret rooms, you have 20 chances of getting these fragments every single cycle, every month. Next champion is another legendary force support orc. I'm not as excited about this one, so I'll let you guys go ahead and read it. I shouldn't say as excited. Really good champion, don't get me wrong, but I really think it's not like game-changing, best legendary in the game. I think the main ability here is attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing a decreased defense on all enemies for 2 turns. The first hit on the target also has a 75% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. Second hit will also have a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns if this champion has full HP. And you can see every ability has an extra if this champion has full HP. Alright, so obviously pairing this champion with a champion in a shield set would be good to ensure that at the beginning of each round you have full HP to get the full value out of all their skills. This champion I will read off, Urost the Soul Cage. This could be my most... Plarium's going in a direction here with their new champions that they're a little bit more niche, they're a little bit more complicated, but they're also more strategically fun to kind of consider and build a team around, and I really applaud them for going in this direction. Because the worst thing we could have with new champions at this point in the game with, hundreds and hundreds of champions already is a lot of redundancy. So I'm glad we're not seeing that in these new champions. So Urost the Soul Cage, on his A1, attacks, oops, sorry guys, on his A1, and he looks, I want to see what this dude looks like, man. He's going to be Undead Horde, by the way, not Demon Spawn. Some of the information here is wrong, but they do kind of give the amendments. But yeah, man, I wonder what he looks like. Wow, what is that avatar on this dude? All right, Jagged Knuckles, A1. Attacks 1 enemy, places a shield buff on the champion equal to 10% of the champion's max HP. The shield's value increased by 1% for each poison debuff on the target. His whole kit is all about poisons. On the A2, attacks all enemies, 75% chance of decreasing the turn meters by 15% on enemies under 1 or more poison debuffs. Also, 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed for 2 turns on enemies under 2 or more poison debuffs. And then a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn on enemies under 3 or more poison debuffs. Right out the gate, you guys know I'm a huge fan of Richtof the Bold. Imagine having him on the same team. Richtof the Bold has an AoE poison on a 3-turn cooldown that lands 3 poisons on every enemy. Whoa. Just imagine him on the... I just love the synergy, potential on a champion like this. That's what I was kind of harkening back to what I was saying earlier. On the A3, places a strengthened buff on all allies for 2 turns and an ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. He's an HP based champion, by the way. And then on this passive, check this out. When attacked, 50% chance of placing a poison debuff on the attacker for 2 turns. Whenever an ally is attacked while under a strengthened buff, has a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. Increases this champion's max HP by 5% whenever an enemy receives damage from a poison debuff placed by this champion. Whenever an enemy receives damage from a poison debuff placed by this champion, also decreases their max HP by 5%. Dude, that's a sick passive, man. This guy looks really, really cool. He could be, I mean, him and the Hex champion are my 2 faves, I think, overall out of all these new champions. So guys, I'd be sitting here for, it would be a 45-minute video if I went through all these champions. This guy actually does seem cool because I will read him off. I think he's my favorite epic coming out here. So attacks 1 enemy. He's a Bannerlord support magic affinity epic champion. Attacks 1 enemy. His name will be Archmage Helmet, not Royal Archmage when he's released. Attacks 1 enemy, fills his champion's turn meter by 10%, fills a turn meter by 20% if the attack is critical. Not bad. On his A2, attacks 1 enemy, also attacks other enemies if the first attack is critical. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. After attacking, decreases the turn meter of each enemy without a stun debuff by 20%, and we can only imagine here that this is going to be a 3-turn cooldown, at least I hope so. And then Psychic Guidance has an increased speed, increased crit rate, an increased crit damage buff on all allies for 2 turns on hopefully a 3-turn cooldown. Wishful thinking, 4-turn cooldown, we'll see. And then immune to turn meter decreasing effects as well. So pretty cool to have the turn meter immunity. I like when they introduce kind of new abilities, new passives into the game. You guys can check out Inferno Golem. I'll have a link with all these new champions for you guys. But again here, rather than reading them all out, or you can pause and just check them out on this video if you want as well. Elemental Conjurer has a synergy with Uros the Soul Cage and Inferno Golem, where essentially they can, it's kind of confusing in the text here, I'll let you guys read it, but a kind of an interesting Dark Elf support champion, also a reviver, has a 75% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies. Also, 75% chance of placing a weakened debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. If this can be booked down to 3 turns, which I'm assuming it can be, I think the Elemental Conjurer will be a very nice champion to have as well. Kind of a, I don't know, kind of a very similar champion to Madame Ceres in this ability at least, where it has, instead of the decreased defense, has the weaken. And also, assuming it can be booked up to 100% chance, can remove all buffs from all enemies as well. So kind of a cool champion. Now this is really cool right here, guys. Every player who completed floor 10 will be placed into a Doom Tower rankings. These are separated into 2 categories, global and clan rankings. The rankings are further divided by difficulty, normal and hard. Completing Doom Tower floors will reward ranking points and increase your standing, much like you see in tournaments. When the Doom Tower resets, the game will display a pop-up with the current ranking to highlight the most successful players. I love rankings. Those of you who've been watching the channel for a while know that. I'm a big fan of rankings, so I can't wait to compete with my clanmates and in the global on Doom Tower. So this champion is the last we're going to go over in depth in today's video. It's Pixneal, because the word on the street is this is going to be the a fusion champion for Christmas. Legendary magic support high elf champion. On the A1, attacks 1 enemy, 30% chance of placing a veil buff on a random ally, cannot be this champion. Who knows what we're going to be able to book this up to, obviously. 60% chance increased defense, and a 15% continuous heal. My bad. 60% increased defense, 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. Then attacks all enemies under freeze debuffs. Places a weakened debuff for 2 turns on all enemies under freeze debuffs. So again, like we talked about before, a champion that is very synergistic when you have the right team around her. So add another high elf champion, Shiramani, with her, you know, and I think that you're going to be looking really good, getting those consistent freezes. However, by herself, without a freeze champion on the team, I'm not so sure. Anyway, let's go. Icicle Barrage. Attacks 5 times at random. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. Has a 100% chance of placing a freeze debuff on enemies that receive 2 hits. So again, not bad. Not bad, but, you know, it depends on what this 30% can be booked up to. Can it be booked up to, you know, 60% chance? Now we're talking, you know? And then the Frostweaver is the passive. Whenever an enemy places a freeze debuff on an ally, has a 20% chance of stealing that freeze and placing it on this champion instead. 25% chance of filling this champion's turn meter by 25% each time they receive a freeze debuff. 35% chance of removing any freeze debuffs from this champion at the start of every turn. If there are multiple champions in this team with a skill, only one will activate. So again, very niche champion. It feels kind of niche. This Grip of Winter, it will depend to me on how many turns you can book this down. Is it a 5 turn? Is it a 4 turn? Okay. Is it a 3 turn? Then we're talking, because then there's inherent value in the champion, you know, despite all the freeze stuff. So we're really just going to have to wait and see on her. But again, you guys can take a look at Yakarl the Scourge. He looks really, really cool as well. I think he's going to have big multipliers because he's a single target hitter. And then he also has a passive, you'll note, increase ally attack in Doom Tower by 43%. Cool to see that there as well. And then again, a couple more epics. You guys can feel free to pause if you want to, or you can feel free to just check out the link in the description below. That's all the information I have for you guys. Are you as excited as I am about this update? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. And as always, take care, guys.